today's going to be a little bit interactive. I'll give a talk about what I think of design and what we're doing at Buddycloud. And then there's a couple of questions that I have, and maybe we can talk about those. And also, if you have questions along the way, just jump in, because you'll probably realize I don't have all the answers, and maybe there's other people who have better answers than what I'm talking about here. So, my name is Simon Tennant. I work at a little company called Buddycloud. We're about 6 or 7 developers now. We're building an open social network. So this is something that we see as being the future of social networking. It's software that you can integrate into your own website that gives you social networking features without going through Facebook or Twitter or anything like that. But today's talk is really about design, and I'll reference some of that. So who's the 1%? The 1% is really you. You're all building the future. You understand that tweeting is nothing that a bird does, and you kind of get it. So drag and drop is not a problem. You can use a mouse and things like that. But it's so easy to forget that there's actually people who don't go to Barcamps and who are not here building stuff. And so I really want to think about how do we build great products that these people will use. And in terms of thinking about who is this 99%, I find it's often really good to kind of have a picture of somebody in your mind. So it's somebody that you can actually think that has real qualities. And I know somebody, she's very, very smart. She reads a lot. She uses a computer, but she uses it just to get stuff done. She doesn't sit there playing and exploring and checking out new picture hosting services. She hosts her pictures on Facebook. And the person's my mom. So I really urge you to think about like somebody specific when you're coming up with like problems that you need to solve with design. It really helps focus questions. And something we do a lot in our team is, it doesn't come out too well, but when we're having protocol discussions or coding discussions, this really, really helps, because you can actually think, you know what, like this matters to us as geeks, but does it matter to my mom? And when we can answer that quickly, it immediately like solves a lot of these questions. So why does design matter? Well, I don't know, maybe you can answer this question. It's like, what's the most important thing we all have? Any ideas? Yes. The eyes? Anything else? What's the one thing that if we don't have it, we're dead? Yeah. More? Time. If we don't have time, we're dead. So, like, this is the thing that's so important to us. And there's a really great example. The design of the original Macintosh, these guys were sitting there, and this machine, you know, the original Macintosh was really ahead of its time. They were doing all sorts of crazy stuff that had never been done before. And as part of the design, it was booting up, and our dear friend who champions good design, Steve Jobs, walks in and he says to these engineers, this is booting up a little bit faster. Can we do anything to shave some time off? And the engineers come back and say, yeah, but it'll probably take about a week more work. So he goes away and thinks, and then eventually comes back to them and says, like, if you can cut 10 seconds off the boot up time, and all these people are using this computer, you're going to save a whole lot of lifetimes. So design matters in all sorts of ways that are probably not relevant, that we probably don't think about. And then there's design that doesn't matter. And one of the areas where design doesn't matter is to improve your click rate. We're not looking at design today as a way to improve click rates, because, or at least my personal opinion, and maybe the audience has other opinions on this, but I want to build products that users fall in love with. These are users that will keep coming back to the product. They will be champions of your product. And so my whole point of designing well is that we build these things that we call super fans. So we've got all our web hits down here. We've got Twitter fans, we've got Facebook fans, but up here we have our super fan. These are the guys that are really going to promote your product. So if we can design something that these guys will fall in love with, they'll be out there, they'll be working the forums, they'll be supporting users, they'll be sending you fixes. And even better, when it comes to recruiting, these will be the people that will be your first employees or your late-stage employees. At Buddycloud, we have a guy who looks after all of our blogging and just generally does everything for us. And he was one of our early users on a previous product that we built. And Dirk is, he quickly rose to the ranks of superfan because he liked the product, and we really worked closely with him because he helped guide our design in building the product. He told us when we were screwing up. He gave us ideas. He worked with other users. So that's really good. But there's also the school of thought of, you're building something, build something for yourself. And that's we built it for us, built it by us. Or, you build a product to scratch your own itch. And I totally agree with this. I think it's right. I think you do build something that's important to you. On the other hand, there's the reality that we're the 1% sitting here. So if the 1% is just building products for themselves, who's serving the 99% out there? And we end up with this sort of system where we've got us building. Oh, can we kill the lights there? So we've got something that looks like that. And really, this is not the reality. I mean, the reality is probably something a little bit closer to that. You have that much in common with your users. So I kind of... so we can have the lights again. The horrible awakening for me came the other day. So you can kick me out because I actually know nothing about design because this proves it all wrong. But the reality came as we got this email from this user, and she said, "Look, I don't understand your product. Like, it's not doing what I think it should do." And so we emailed a few times, and then I got on the phone to her. She lives in Texas, and she'd found our product, and she was really curious. Turns out she's 50 years old. She's non-technical, but she's really interested in gardening, and she wanted to find her Facebook friends, but not to use Facebook. And so this is a good example of where design is breaking down. And we'll look at in a minute how we can try and fix this. But I do have a super tip for you in terms of designing and getting feedback from users. There's a lot of screen testing services where you can get real users to come and use your product and give feedback. These all cost like $30 or $40. And the feedback's pretty good. It's a great service. But if you're a startup and you're trying to save money, there's an even better service. There's Amazon's Mechanical Turk. And the really cool thing about this is you can have somebody hit your website. They'll look at the design. They'll give you feedback. You can give them tasks to do. So, for example, right now we have a task running, which is like, register on Buddycloud and tell us what you think. And we have hundreds of people jumping in and doing this for 50 cents. And they will record a screen grab, they will record a video of themselves talking, and they're people that have no affiliation, they're not technical, and this is a really, really great way to get the 99% to give you feedback on your product. Yeah?
Just regarding Amazon Mechanical Turk, as far as I know, that's still only usable in the US. Yes. So you have to have a US credit card account or something like that?
You can have a credit card from anywhere.
No,
there's
I agree that you need a security number and anything. You're not allowed to sign up from here?
Really?
Yes. Unfortunately, I tried.
Okay. I signed up from here without any problem, and it worked quite all right.
Are you working for a European registered company?
Yeah, absolutely no problem.
Try again?
Yeah.
No, give me a few.
Okay. The trick is to put in number 1 Lincoln Avenue, Washington, 1001. It's but I can highly recommend this if you can get around some of their roadblocks because it is a great service. And if you combine that with there's some great software called Screencast-O-Matic, and that'll just record your user's screen. You can say, go to Screencast-O-Matic, send us a video of you doing this on our website. So this is a good way to think about design. but then we still have our friend Raven's, actually pronounce it Raven's problem here. How do we describe our service so that we don't have this huge design flaw of somebody expecting something and then receiving something else? And I guess the one takeaway from today would be, again, imagine real users rather than some abstract user. So what we did is we thought of 2 real users and we wrote down text about these users. These are both good friends of mine, and we tried to describe, what motivates them, what type of personality do they have, and instead of just describing your product, describe the people that will use your product. So, people like Matthew, he really is somebody who jumps in and uses new products quickly and easily. And by grabbing all of these things, it's almost stepping back from describing your service to your end users. You can actually get a very nice way to come up with what your product does. So this is the text that we use to describe the developer side of our product. And what we're really trying to do here is to show people, look, if you use this, you're aspirational. If you use this, you're important. If you use this, you're somebody who's not doing small program. You're really building something big. So this is the, I guess, to summarize this, really think about real users when you're thinking about design. Picture your friend or your mom or your dad or somebody using this, and then go out and test it on real users. One area that I'm, Buddycloud it's open source. It's an open protocol. Anybody can use it. Open protocols tend to not, or open source is not even really known for its great design sense. So this is something that we're always fighting against. And we have some great designers on the team, and I can show you some screenshots later. But what it really comes down to is that you have a sort of integrated stack versus an open stack. So if you think about, Apple has great design. Why do they have great design? Because they have an integrated stack. They make their own hardware, they make their own software. They work very, very closely with content producers. And we see that people fall in love with this stack. It's very successful. If you think about the Windows stack, that's a very open stack. I don't know who they're anyway, you get it. But it's always nice to think we can all be Apple, but we don't control the entire stack. Somebody else makes the browser, we make the web app. It's deployed on different architectures and hardwares. So this is really something, and I was kind of hoping that other people think about this and maybe have some ideas. So one of the discussion points would be is, does this vertical integration or horizontal integration make sense? Do people think that we should have open systems that are maybe less well designed, less integrated, or should we really be embracing things like the iPhone with a completely integrated stack? Any opinions on this?
I had a question in German.
Yeah.
Can you?
Yeah. Sorry?
Or can you say question in German?
Yeah, of course.
No. I mean, can you repeat the question?
Oh, maybe somebody else can summarize this better than my bad German.
Ja, ob wir jetzt gleich mal diskutieren wollen darüber, ob jemand eine Meinung darüber hat, die vertikale Integration versus die horizontale. Also die vertikale wie Apple, die alles kontrolliert, das Ökosystem, oder eben das horizontale, was halt offen ist, was natürlich andere Vorteile hat als das geschlossene. Also eine ist klar. Ich meine, ich sehe die Nachteile eines offenen Systems natürlich. I see the disadvantages of the open or horizontal system. yeah, so that you're not tied in somewhere, that you don't have, that you not depend on this, like if they rise prices and stuff. But I recognize that the closed or vertical systems work better. So that's why at some point of time, 3 years ago, I just throw away all Windows stuff and stick Java. So yeah, it's a little more expensive, and I maybe depend on that in future. We'll see if I switch again. But at the moment, I don't know.
I see a lot of parallels to the open source world. Like if you remember Linux back in the days, only geeks would use it because you have to configure and do stuff.
Wasn't that the benefit of it? You could spend days configuring it.
Yeah, right. So and 99% often use the Apple style because you don't have to think about it. Just plug it in, put it on, and
look at the Open Office right now, right? It works better than years before. Yeah, it's still horrible, but it works better than years before. And I think if we could improve on that, that would be much better. And it would be better for the users to invest in open stuff. Of course, it's easier for the designers and for the developers to build like really integrated stuff. It's likely easy to use and to get it done. But I think it's worth thinking about creating open systems.
Yeah, Open Office is an interesting case because they're slowly getting better. It's still, well, I still use Keynote rather than their presenter tool. But even when they get perfect, like at least to me, the whole idea of needing an Office suite is dead. Now people just use Google Docs or Notepad. It's sort of like they've got perfect, but the market has kind of moved on. Yeah, it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, I think.
But that's a question of platform, isn't it? I'm not sure if it's...
Yeah, you're right, it is a platform thing.
I wonder if this question is really relevant for something which is not hardware related. I mean, if you have hardware like Apple, it's better to have a closed system. But if it's only software, a web app, or even like a mobile app, is it really a question whether it's vertical or horizontal? I'm not sure. I mean, I would say with hardware, yes, and then you can debate. But for a web app, for a mobile app, for something like Google Apps and stuff, I wouldn't see there so much difference.
What about the top layer where you've got consumer content coming in? Do you get sort of integrated with the Hollywood stuff, or do you sort of make it user generated?
I mean, both works. We have a product like Facebook, which is pretty open, let's say, and it works. And we have with closed systems. Then we have Wikipedia, which works pretty open, and then we have content or publisher editorial content, which works. I don't see so much, like when we talk about hardware, I see the differentiation, and then we can debate it. But for software, I don't know if there's so much of a debate.
Okay.
My point of view.
Yeah, the reason I asked this question is it's something that we're struggling with right now. You know, Buddycloud is open source, it's an open platform, it's an open protocol. Very similar to email. You know, if Buddycloud Limited goes out of business, the protocol and people writing servers for it can hopefully live on. On the other hand, you know, there's the fact that we want different people to write servers for this, but you know, one guy might have a slightly different interpretation of the specifications than another guy, and the poor user's stuck in the middle, just wanting stuff to work. They don't want to be wasting 10 seconds of their life because they're working around a hack. And so that's sort of where I'm coming from on this. Like, how integrated do we make it? Do we try and does Buddycloud try to make everything, or do we publish more of the specs so other people can make stuff, although they might make it with a slightly different interpretation?
What's the link to the topic of the session again?
This is software design. So you know, how do we make software that has a great experience for the end user? And I see it as being relevant because we try to create an open system. So and stepping back even more, maybe this is far too abstract for the session, but I really see that the days where one or two companies control the social networking ecosystem are coming to an end. There's more open alternatives coming along. So how do we design a nice open alternative that other companies can play in and build stuff for?
Isn't the problem that if you see products like all the Apple stuff or Facebook, that technology is usable right now? So I always compare this with the ATM machine. So it would be very hard to get money in foreign cities if any ATM machine would work differently between different brands. And there are so many banking companies and banks, but they all use the same ATM machines, and it's very easy to get money. And that reminds me to Facebook. I'm not a big fan of control system, but the first time of the internet, everything works the same way. If it's a profile, if it's a fan page, if it's an event, if it's whatever you call it. And Facebook is so easy for people who never use the internet. So the idea to paint the whole web blue and to make it work for the first time is a brilliant idea. But the problem is that everything is controlled by one company. And I think that's one of the two ends in this discussion.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good summary for that. It's like
that's actually the problem.
Single country control.
The email, because she expected the search box to work like will find my friends. Exactly the Facebook way of looking.
So just to give you a quick idea of what we're working on, this is Buddycloud. This is, well, we think it's very useful for software developers. It's something that can easily be dropped into other products to provide social features. The important thing is that anybody can run their own Buddycloud server. So it's not controlled by a single entity. It doesn't depend on a single entity. So in this case, you see the BBC running their own server. I think there's a couple of other, Steam.com running their own server. And very similar to your Facebook wall, you've got posts and you've got followers.
So is it basically an open source version of Facebook, like Diaspora?
Well, that's actually another point that I didn't address, and I think that designing open source applications to copy closed applications, that's just stupid. It's like, yeah, you'll get 1% of users, you'll get 2% of the users, but there's no great thing. If you really want to innovate, you have to be an order of magnitude better. I mean, beta was better than VHS, but it wasn't 10 times better or 100 times better. So just copying Twitter or just copying Facebook with an open alternative isn't going to win. So what we've tried to do is really have a much more discussion-orientated product. So unlike Twitter, where you sort of post something, and you post something, you post something, this is really, you know, Vera's posting here, and she's getting a few responses back, and so you can actually have more of a conversation with your friends. Not necessarily chat, but posting and comments.
Isn't it not the idea to beat Facebook and Google with their own weapons, like making use of the API in a way that they didn't expect, like Farmville does in the first weeks with Facebook. They opened up an own social network based on gaming, and they were one of the most important clients for Facebook, so they could even dictate what Facebook should do. They're also a member of the board right now. Isn't it like having not only a second platform, an own unique platform, but using all the APIs to aggregate something and to make the world?
I think that's great, but the thing we're forgetting is that you know, there's quite a strong crossover between the investment and the two companies, and they had a lot of common investors.
Yeah,
so So I mean, if you start using Google's API in a way that they don't like, they'll just pull your API key, and then you're dead. It's...
Yeah, but if you see the situation with Twitter, so Twitter had a great developer network, and everybody was building Twitter applications like Twitter clients or Twitter walls and things like that. And then they tried to build everything on their own. And so it was a bit difficult situation for Twitter, because developers start to hate Twitter because they blocked their thing and start to use their own applications and build their own thing. And I think the balance between that is pretty interesting to see.
Yeah, that really turned off a lot of developers. As soon as you realize that you're competing against the company that is providing this API, It's a difficult game to play, and there's only one winner, and it's probably not you.
Can you point me to your right homepage? I'm at Buddycloud.
Buddycloud.com is
not
.org. .org is the developer stuff. In fact, those are our details there. We have a demo working right now. It's very much a work in progress. There's hourly bug fixes being deployed on there, and you know, we don't claim we've got design right, but we're trying really hard to focus on the end user for this, and we'd love feedback. It looks like you've got some already.
I am not your mom, but so similar. I try to read the homepage and I don't get anything out of it. I have no idea. That one screenshot you provided gives me much more of an idea what you actually do.
So
about sharing what you do is I am definitely 1%, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
that probably explains why you have limited resources.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
so we do actually have a little project going on to redo that right now. Hopefully it's done by the end of this month.
I totally agree with that, because I looked at your homepage and I had a lot of question marks. The screenshot helped me a lot, but still I don't get really the difference between a diaspora, which is copying Facebook as an open source. There is StatusNet, for example, who is the copy of Twitter open source. Is it a combination of that, or what is actually the unique selling point for Buddycloud compared to those two systems?
So Buddycloud grew out of this mobile product that we built originally on the Nokia platform, and that was a bad platform choice, but it was very successful on that platform. And we had two different types of channels. There were topic channels and personal channels. You could post in your friends' personal channels or in topic channels. And the one area that was very strong was location sharing, but in a way that was much safer than sort of plotting your friends on a map. You could say, you know, my next location is Barcamp. Doesn't say too much about it. My next location is home. We built a system to snap you to these locations. We found that people really like sharing 3 locations, previous location, current location, or future location, with their trusted friends. So that's one aspect of it that was very powerful. So, for example, your future location could be going out for a drink tonight. It could be a physical location as well, but it was very much up to the users to control their own privacy and to broadcast in a way that they felt comfortable with. And yeah, I think that as I said earlier, it's much more conversational, it's much more engaging, and it's a lot of the design that we've done is to enable you to although it's web-based right now, we grew out of mobile heritage, and mobile means you pull something out of your pocket and in 5 seconds you've got the content you're interested in, and in 15 seconds you put your phone back in the content into your pocket because you've posted something. And so a lot of our protocol design that you don't necessarily see right now is about getting that content to your phone beforehand or quickly, so it's all real time. And you know, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, but those are the sort of assumptions that we're working towards. Any other questions?
Yeah. You mentioned the Steam server, they're running their own.
Mm-hmm. Why would somebody run their own server? Yeah. They don't have to. If you're non-technical, there's a hosted offering. We see that as a way to support the platform. But for all sorts of reasons. The data lives on site then, so you control your data. If you think about banks or insurance companies or anyone that comes under Sarbanes-Oxley, they've got to keep archives of their information, so they can't use a service like Yammer. Some people are just more privacy aware and they're not comfortable having all of their data sitting on one provider. And so that's pretty much why we see people setting up their own servers. And then there's also people who just want to integrate stuff more deeply into their own stack. So they can run a server but customize it a lot more.
Okay, and as a user, can I, if I make my account, if I open my account at a Steam server, can I switch easily to, let's say, whatever, Adidas or Nike, if they open another one?
You can follow channels on those remote servers. So the idea is that you have a home server and then you have remote servers. Very similar to an email model where you have your address, but you can email people on other domains.
Could you export your profile and import it to a different server with all your ecosystem?
You should be able to. It's just not done. I mean, the protocol's there and the API's all there. It's just not done. Anything else? Oh, we also hold regular hackathons in Munich. So if you're interested in hacking on parts of this or areas of this or on the design of this, then we're very, very interested in seeing you. Okay, thanks.